Welcome to the show! Once again, we have a fabulous lineup of guests to energize and inspire you.
It's time to wake up your wow with your host, international award-winning speaker, Cath Vincent.
On the show tonight, we hear from celebrity doctor Francis Pitsillis on how to avoid burnout and why men get grumpy. Dog psychologist Doggy Dan takes us inside the mind of your four-legged friend. And we get practical tips for maximising your mobile phone from non-nerdy technologist Pam Martin. And in the Wild Records music slot, we hear the delightful voice of singer-songwriter Shantae Gribble, who is just 12 years old. All this and more to wake up your wow. Francis, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Cath.
Now, you were featured in that prominent series on TV1, Is Modern Medicine Killing You? How controversial?
Well, the producers wanted a really controversial title so that they could get viewers. I didn't name the series, but I think that the title was probably very effective.
Yeah, well, it had a huge viewership and it ran week after week. And tell us a little bit about the content of it.
Well, there were 20 patients and I saw 15 of them and a colleague saw 5. And these were people who hadn't been able to get better with the conventional course of medicines and consultations that they'd had. So what we did was use scientifically based medications, natural therapies and lifestyle changes, including diet, to help the patients get better. And I would say that the bulk of them got better within 1 or 2 visits.
Wow, wow. And what's happened for you after that show? I mean, that must have been really huge for you. What happened afterwards?
Well, the show rated very well, and once it started, it won the ratings every night that it was on. And as a result of it, the waiting list expanded to about 18 months, which was very upsetting for me. And my initial reaction was to work 6 days a week. But I quickly put a stop to that because I thought, well, I'm going to get burnt out and then I won't be able to help anyone.
Yeah. So you're helping people with chronic illness, and obviously you could end up on that path yourself.
That's right. And I've been burnt out twice before. So
have you?
Yes. So I can speak about that sort of thing with great authority.
Yeah. Yeah. So in your own personal burnout, what happened for you and how did you deal with it?
Well, I think the first time was a long time ago. I didn't know I was burnt out. I just had a little meltdown one weekend and got a bit weepy. And at that stage, I was doing a lot of maternity as a family doctor. And what happened was that my staff just had to look after me for a while and I slowly recovered. But the second one was about 15 years ago, and that was, again, too much overload and work. That was at a time when general practitioners were working very, very hard for very little. And I think there were some other stresses as well. Doctors are quite prone to burnout, especially women doctors, and there are other occupations as well that tend to burn out as well. But I've learnt my lesson. I'm not going to let that happen again.
Yeah, good for you. Everyone's taking on so much more these days.
You're absolutely right. We've got our cell phones, our email, and we think other people are getting more and doing more, but we don't know the price that they're paying. And because we can do more, we try and do more, we want it all, but we pay a price for that.
Yes.
And there are lots of things chipping away at you, daily hassles, too much work to do, having to run the kids here and there, and long hours. And I think sometimes people become addicted to overwork.
Yeah, it becomes an addiction, doesn't it? You're absolutely right.
It can be, actually. I've been doing some research on that recently.
Yeah, I think I might be addicted.
I think I'm addicted too. So every now and then I have to stop and think, you're doing that again, stop it. So then I have to sort of look after that. And I think once you've learnt that you're one of those, then you're much better at looking after yourself.
So what are some simple techniques that people can do to notice the signs in themselves and to do something about it?
Well, that's really about becoming more aware of what you're doing and how you're thinking. And if people can become a bit more mindful, then they'll be better at picking it up. So a way of becoming mindful is to do any of those relaxation type activities that help you, like yoga, possibly Pilates, Tai Chi, meditation, prayer. Once you become good at being in the moment, then you'll pick up when you're starting to think the wrong way or do things that you shouldn't really be doing. So regular activities like that are good for you.
And what about the toll of stress? I mean, it's so ageing on the body, isn't it?
Absolutely. Anyone who's sick or stressed looks horrible.
Yeah.
So the ultimate toll could be a heart attack, stroke, sudden death. I mean, we know that from the Japanese example of overwork. They have a term for death from overwork, karoshi.
Oh, whoa.
Truly, yeah.
So it's in their vocabulary.
Yeah, it's in their vocabulary.
Wow.
Karoshi, death from overwork. But ultimately, people get migraine. A woman's PMT gets worse. Her periods get worse. She gets bitchier. What do men do? They get irritable.
They're just grumpy all the time.
You don't sleep. Oh, we could talk about male menopause one day.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Yes, because, I mean, women go through it a lot more quickly, but men do it gradually and it sneaks up on you.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and so then you think, oh, he's been grumpy for a while.
He's been grumpy for 15 years.
Yeah, so the ultimate outcome of burnout you do not want to know, because it can take you 2 years to really recover from burnout. And what happens? You're given antidepressants and you wait to get better. Well, that's not good. You just don't want to go there.
Yeah.
So using the holistic approach is the right way to go about it.
Yeah. And what are you working on now?
Well, at the moment, I've got a couple of projects. I've just brought in the DNA testing into the practice. I'm also continuing using the platelet-rich plasma into knees and other joints to reduce arthritis, to help people to maybe defer or avoid, joint replacements.
Right.
And I'm looking at other stem cell type activities, and I'm also working on my book.
Tell us about the book.
Well, it's about health. If I tell you any more, I'll have to kill you.
Hey, well, that's not going to be good for my health, is it?
But what I want to do with the book is make it a one-to-many. At the moment, I'm one-on-one with my patients, and there are people who cannot afford to see me or cannot come. I want to reach out to a lot more people.
Yeah, brilliant. And I'm sure that the book will do that. Frances, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been a great pleasure.
Next up, trainer Doggy Dan on the psychology behind your dog's behaviour. Doggy Dan! I'm so happy you're here. How lovely to see you.
Lovely to be here.
Love the T-shirt, by the way.
Yes, I do have some T-shirts which don't have dogs on them.
Oh, okay.
But
cool.
not many.
Good choice for today.
Yeah.
Now listen, you are a dog trainer and psychologist. Tell us a little bit about understanding the psychology of crazy little dogs.
Yeah, so if I clarify, I'm a dog psychologist, and that's just my funny title. The real way it works is, rather than traditional training where somebody's trying to train the dog, I go to people's homes and I actually sit very much like this, talking to the people, explaining what this little creature is that they've got in their house, which is tearing it apart or going crazy when they see another dog or somebody comes to the door. So it's understanding, almost helping the owners get inside their dog's brain and see it through their dog's eyes. Ooh. Because when you see it through your dog's eyes, you go, this is honestly the most common thing that people probably say, is that makes so much sense. When they understand where the doggie's coming from.
Yeah. And how is a dog psychology, obviously it's different to a human psychology. What is the trick that people are missing when they overlook that?
The big thing that people are missing is, with dogs, you have to understand how to be the pack leader, which has got nothing to do with screaming or shouting or beating your chest or whacking or smacking the dog. It's, how does a dog choose who's in charge? And this is the bit that very, very few people understand.
Yeah, how interesting. So how does a dog choose who's in charge?
Well, if I give you an example of how they don't choose, or one of the things we commonly think that this is how dogs is important to a dog, because the things which are important to a dog, we miss. And the things that aren't important, we really focus on. So I'm missing the important stuff. For example, when you feed your dog, what does everybody do when you're about to feed the dog? What do we all do?
I don't know. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Sit.
Yes.
We all do it. Everybody does this with their dog.
Yeah. Why do we?
You tell me.
I don't know.
Because everyone else does. Because that's what you do. Have you ever seen in the wild the wolves, the alpha wolf, when they're feeding the wolves? They don't do that because that's not important. It means nothing to a dog when you get them to sit.
Yeah, that's
sure, they
good.
calm down a bit and we get them to do something.
Yeah.
But it's like if you salute, if you can get your dog to salute, that doesn't mean that you're the pack leader. If your dog salutes to you every morning or bows, that's human psychology.
Right.
So, to take that same example of food and feeding, the pack leaders control the food.
Yes.
They control it. The pack leaders will eat first. They eat first in the wild, and then the next wolves will come and eat, sort of thing. So it's the order in which you eat with dogs which is so important.
Right.
That's just one little example of the sort of stuff. If we don't get that right, it's game over. There's no way you're actually the pack leader.
Yeah. What other stupid things are we doing because we think it's the right thing?
Where do I start? There's so many, and you know, when you start to go through them, it can break your heart because you see it through your dog's eyes and you think, oh, poor dog. No wonder the dogs are confused. I mean, a classic one is, you know, there's a noise next door, dog barks, ruff, ruff, ruff. And what do we do? Shut up, Rover, Rover, quiet.
Yeah.
Dog goes, okay, ruff, ruff, ruff. Shut up, Rover, be quiet. Ruff, 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 I'm barking as loud as I can. Shut up, Rover, be quiet, I can't bark any louder. So we're just escalating the noise, we're shouting and screaming. Rover's shouting, I'm barking as loud as I can.
Yeah.
What do we really want Rover to do?
Shut up.
Be quiet.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So
be quiet.
I agree, shut up. So if Rover could say, what do you want? And we said, I want you to be quiet. Rover would probably reply, well, why are you screaming and shouting? Well, because that's how we do it as humans. When we want you to be quiet, we scream and shout, shut up, be quiet.
You're right. Humans are crazy. Humans are crazy.
You said it.
So, but actually, one of the things that you say is that dogs are actually a lot like children. That you know, the process is actually very similar. Tell me a bit about that analogy.
Well, let's take that exact analogy. I mean, how many times when our kids are misbehaving, be quiet, shut up, be quiet. Yeah, and I mean, short term, sure, you might be able to scare you or shock your child into being quiet, but long term, do you think you're going to develop a child who's calm? Quiet, and when something's going wrong, they have a calm way of dealing with it, or are they just going to mirror what mummy and daddy do, which is when it's going wrong, they scream and shout? I mean, I've got a lovely dog called Jack, and he's a 1-year-old, he's huge, he's strong and powerful, and every now and then it's like, Jack, you know, you can't help it. Jack, get off, get out, Jack, you know. My 5-year-old boy, every now and then you hear it. Jack, Jack, get out of here. It's like, because I hear it, I know all he's doing is mirroring what he's heard.
Yeah. So how do you stop your dog or your child from being rebellious, barking or acting out or whatever they do?
It's a big topic. It's a big question.
Okay, 2-hour interview coming up.
Yeah. I think the nuts and bolts of it with children and dogs, I'm trying to cover both off here, is it's first of all about, I think both children and dogs, they need to trust that you're going to look after their needs.
Yes.
You need to win their respect in a kind and gentle way, so they respect you, they know that you're going to follow through, it's your rules, you make the decisions, and then, of course, love.
Yeah.
And if you do that in a calm and gentle way, you'll get there.
Yeah.
But it's so easy to take shortcuts with dogs and children.
Yeah.
Just
haven't got time.
Haven't got time. Just knock it off, slam your fist on the, squirt the dog in the face with some water, get saucepan lids, growl at the children,
Is the water thing, is that good or bad?
Same as your children. I mean, if your children are doing some stuff you don't want, will water in the face work?
Yeah.
With some children, yeah, it will. But is there a better way?
Yeah.
Oh, you betcha.
Yeah.
Of course there's a better way than just, every time your child does something right in the face, in their eyes. Of course, some children will do what dogs do, and they'll open their mouth and go and laugh and love it.
Now, a lot of this intelligence is all packaged up in this beautiful book.
Yes.
I actually bought this long before I ever heard of you. So, I'm a big fan. And one of your biggest fans is in the audience right now. Roxy, come on. Roxy, come on.
Yeah, she's saying there's definitely something up here. Good girl. Let's have a little look. Hey? Lovely little girl. I don't think she needs this one, does she? No, she's a good little girl. But that's what I call it. Quite a confident dog, to be quite happy to be picked up like that.
Is she?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
confident
good.
and calm. And
That's good. She's kind of bored of it now, so
Yeah.
yeah. See ya.
yeah, nothing happening over here. No food, no treats.
And so, tell me, why did you write the book?
I think the reason I wrote the book was really to do with, I just kept stumbling across more and more people who kept saying, when I explained how the dog was working and thinking, more and more people are saying, I wish we'd known this stuff when we had the kids.
Yes.
And there was one couple in particular who I could see the lady was almost crying because she really wished she just had a couple of these tips and understanding when she was raising her children, her daughters. And I knew personally, I was thinking, I'm going to use a lot of this when I'm raising my children.
Yeah.
And it's the energetics more than anything of it.
Yes.
That if you deal with the real cause of the problem, and this is the other interesting thing, the cause of the problem or the solution in the problem is you.
Yeah.
And rather than pointing the finger at the dog, saying it's the dog's fault, it's the child's fault, they're like this, what can I do? What can I change? And so I find myself, honestly, keep dipping back into my own book because I know the stuff in there and I read it, I remind myself.
Yes.
Yeah, and it just keeps bringing it back on track because it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of the method with the dogs and raising children. I think there's some real basics which we keep glossing over and missing.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for all your tips on being a great parent and a great pack leader. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Next up, technology translator Pam Martin on clever ways to use your mobile phone. Pam, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
It's great to be here.
Now, you are a mobile mentor. Yes. What does that involve?
Well, we buy a lot of technology nowadays, in particular the mobile stuff. We've got iPads and smartphones. But what I found is that while we're good at buying it, we're not actually very good at using it.
Yes.
And a lot of the technology companies assume that you know. And so people need someone who can kind of translate for them, actually make it understandable and help them to make the most of technology.
And there are a lot of apps and there's probably a million things that your phone can do that you literally don't know.
And people get overwhelmed because you've probably had it. Cath, you've got to go on this website. You've got to try this app. And you go on and they might be fun, but are they actually what you need?
Yeah.
And the problem is that because they get overwhelmed, they tend to do nothing rather than actually think about it sensibly.
Yeah. I'm sure my phone does things that I've no clue what they are.
Absolutely. Great example. I was going to the comedy festival last week and Dr. Hook was on, so there wasn't much parking, went to a very dark car park. In the middle, you had to get your ticket and there was no lighting. So there were women there who had their phones, but just on normal front and were trying to see what was happening. And I said to them, have you got an iPhone? They said, yes. Do you realise you've got a torch on there?
Oh.
Had no idea.
Yeah.
And you can just flick it up without even logging in, click on there, there was a torch, she could see what she was doing.
Oh, how cool.
People don't know. So people don't even know the basic features that are already on their phones for free, let alone what they could do personally and for their businesses.
Well, actually, to make it work, you just need to give it to a child, don't you?
Yes, but you actually need to know yourself.
No, I know, absolutely. So give us an idea of some of the things that we could be doing, perhaps in our business, if we knew how our mobile technology worked properly.
Businesses are really important because what tends to happen is that people get very nervous about technology. And you get people who come and talk to you, like Microsoft. They say, oh, you've got to go on 365. 365 is one element, but if you want to mobilise your business, you actually need to stop, think about what you do every day, and then work out how you can integrate things so that you actually systemise your business. Yes. It's so good when you do it. We've been helping a tradesperson, and he goes out and he sees people, he gives quotes, and then he comes back and he does a quote and he puts it into his accounting system, and he'd quite like to do mail-outs, but doesn't because it's too complicated. And often what happens is he writes down the information, but then never uploads it. He never puts it into his computer. So now what he can do is he can go out and then using this particular where forms are like an app, he can fill in the form, he can take photos, he can draw on the photos, get the client to sign off, he can upload it, it goes into his accounting system, his CRM, into his MailChimp. He goes back to the office, it's also uploaded into a quote, checks it, emails it to the client, it's all done, and he doesn't have to worry about updating his account system. Right. That saves him time, money, but people tend to do things in bits and it's not very efficient. Right. So what I want to do is not only help people like you to understand your mobile phone, but to go in and talk to businesses about how you work out your systems and then use mobile devices to make it work. Because to be honest, a lot of businesses in New Zealand have no systems, and some of them think their business is going to fund their retirement. If you haven't got a systemised business, that's not going to happen, because people need to be able to come in, take over, and just do it right from scratch. And if you can't do that, you've got a job with a lot of paperwork.
So a systemised business will help you save time and money.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how did you get into this whole arena?
It started when I was running community education with Rangitoto College. And I started to realise that there were a lot of people who were working who were never updating their computer skills. And in fact, some of them had no idea how to use a computer. They fudged day to day, but had no idea what you could really do.
Because it's hard to keep up. I mean, the pace of technology is insane.
It is. But the trouble was, as well, is a lot of bosses couldn't use computers. So when they saw a secretary who could type fast and was very organised, they assumed that she knew it all. Never gave them an opportunity to upgrade. So I started stirring things up a bit and asking questions. And then that's where I ended up writing the book that I came out with a few years ago called Beneath the Knowledge Wave.
Yes.
And that was stories, and it was about the danger of assuming people know what you're talking about. And it had lots of stories about the disasters that people can get into. And it was good. It really did stir some interesting conversations.
And why do you think that book was so popular?
When I did it, I actually had little boxes with stories in. And I did it very, very simply. So it was men, women, education, small businesses. So that it was quite short. Yeah. People put it on the coffee table. People would pick it up and they'd go, oh, that's me. Or, I know someone who does that. And that was what started the conversations.
Yeah. Now listen, before you go, what practical little tips can you give us to get working and using our mobile technology better?
One of the best things, and it's not actually so much using as protecting, make sure you've got a password on your phone. So many people don't have it. It's really simple. Whichever phone you've got, go into settings, there's a thing for security, and it lets you set a password up. If you don't have one on your phone and you drop your phone, you've dropped your life.
Yes.
Someone else can pick it up and they can find everything about you. Have you got one on yours?
No!
Right, okay. Your mission for today is to go home and put one on your phone. It is really, really important. The one I love of apps is the Met Service one. I'm a house sitter, so I look after lots of dogs, and it actually shows you the rain radar. So you can see the weather forecast, click on the bottom, it will show you the clouds coming over. You can work out your dog walk by just, checking, oh yeah, okay dog, we can go and have a 20-minute walk before it rains. And it works.
That's brilliant. But Pam, I don't decide when we walk. Roxy decides when we walk.
Well, sometimes when it's raining, they tend to look out and go, not too sure. So if you can time it where they don't get wet, they do quite like it.
Yeah, brilliant. Listen, thanks for all your tips. And I will take a good, long, hard look at my phone when I get home tonight. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Jessie, welcome back once again.
Great to be here.
Now tell us, who is recording at Wild Records right now?
We have a young lady named Shantae, and she's a very, very good singer-songwriter. I met her last year when she was 11.
Wow, 11?
11, and she'd just written this song that she's about to play for you. And I guess I counted up the other day, in the last 3 years I've had about 500 people through the studio, and every now and then someone really stands out, and that's this girl that we're about to hear now.
Oh, can't wait to hear. Let's hear from Shantae.
What you feel inside, you don't have to fear. I'll always be here, and you don't have to cry. always ignore. Cause life's worth living for. You gotta let it out. You gotta scream and shout. You can't always ignore. Cause life's worth living for. Living for. Let them tear you down. Stand up and be proud. Believe in who you are. Like I believe in you. No matter what they say. Stand up and be brave. Believe in who you are. Like I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in you. Like I believe in you.
Shante, that was spectacular. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Now listen, you're only 12 years old, is that right? Yeah. And how long have you been singing?
I've been singing as long as I can remember, so since I was a little girl.
Yeah. So a more little girl than you are now.
Yeah.
Jessie, how are you finding this amazing talent?
Well, I'm lucky owning a recording studio. Shante came in with her mum, and we sat down and we had a little talk about what she wanted to do. And I believe when she first came in, she did a cover and then she did an original.
Yeah.
And I was really intrigued when I asked the story, what is this original about? And she told me, and I thought, what a beautiful sentiment.
So tell us, what is it? Why did you write the song?
Well, there's been a lot of bullying around all the schools, and I've personally experienced that with one of my best friends, and I wanted to write this song for her so she knows that I'm here to support her.
Yeah, well, it's very, very inspiring. The lyrics are really uplifting, so you've done an amazing job there.
Thank you.
Well, brilliant. We can't wait to hear more music from you. That's absolutely fabulous, and we wish you every success on what's going to be a very exciting future.
Thank you.
Thank you. My thanks to all my special guests, to Dr. Francis, to Doggy Dan, to Pam, to Jessie Wild, to Shante and Roxy the dog. And until next week, don't wait to wake up your wow.